The objective for this lesson is 2.4. I can multiply and divide mixed numbers. And we have to fill in the steps. Sorry, it's a little crooked. The first step is to turn the mixed numbers into improper fractions. Second step is to multiply straight across. And the third step is to simplify, and you can simplify before or after you multiply. Okay, for our first example, we're going to do, let's do negative 9/13 times 26 over 27. And for this one, we don't have to make them into improper fractions because they're not mixed numbers. So we're going to look at how to simplify before we multiply. You don't have to, but I like to simplify before so I have smaller numbers to work with. So I look diagonally at, let's look at these two numbers, and I see, is there a number that will go evenly into 13 and into 26? And I know 13 will go evenly into both. So 13 divided by 13 is 1. 26 divided by 13 is 2. So now I look at the 9 and 27, and I see 9 will go evenly into both. 9 divided by 9 is 1, so I have a negative 1 there, and 27 divided by 9 is 3. Then I multiply straight across the top. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, and 1 times 3 on the bottom is 3. And that one's already simplified, so we're finished with that first problem. The next problem is going to be negative 2 3/5 times negative 1 3/7. And so on this one, we are going to have to change them into improper fractions. So I'm going to multiply and then add. So I do 5 times 2 plus 3 is negative 13 over 5 times 7 times 1 is 7 plus 3 is 10, so negative 10 over 7. Then I multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So negative 13 times negative 10 is going to be a positive 130 because they have the same sign. And then on the bottom, 5 times 7 is 35. Then I need to see if I can simplify, and I notice that I can divide the top and bottom by 5. So I'm going to do 130 divided by 5 and 35 divided by 5, which will give me 26 over 7. And I can leave it as an improper fraction as long as it's reduced, or I can change it into a mixed number, and I can think 7 goes into 26 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21, so there are 5/7 left over. Next, we're going to go over the rules for dividing fractions. So the first step is to turn the mixed numbers into improper fractions. The second step is to keep, change, flip. So you keep the first one the same, change the sign to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Then you multiply straight across the top and bottom, and then simplify before or after you multiply. So we're basically turning these into multiplication problems and then using the same rules we used for multiplication. Alright, our first example will be, let's do negative 8 divided by 1/3. And negative 8 isn't even a fraction, so to turn it into a fraction, I'm going to put it over 1. Then I don't need to make these into improper fractions because they're not mixed numbers. So I'm going to do the second step, which was keep, change, flip. I'm going to keep the first fraction the same, so write negative 8 over 1. Change the division sign to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction to 3 over 1. Now I multiply straight across the top and across the bottom. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. My next example is going to be 3/8 divided by 6 1/4. And so I need to make the second fraction into a mixed number, into an improper fraction. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So I'm going to leave the 3/8 the same. Still a division problem. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25, over 4. Now I'm going to use the keep, change, flip rule. I keep the first fraction the same, change the division sign to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Now that it's a multiplication problem, I can cross cancel. So I can see that 4 will go evenly into 8 and 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Then I'm going to multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 25 is 50, and that can't be simplified, so we're finished.